Hey, welcome back to another exciting edition of the Shoe and Show. I'm your host, Matt Priest, and do not adjust your sets, your phone, or whatever you're watching this on, or maybe you're listening to it, and so you just have to visualize what I'm even talking about. But we are wearing our Commanders gear because this is a full-on fanboy kind of whatever you call it. Like, we are very excited because, one, I'm here with Thomas Crockett, my partner in crime and fellow Commanders fan, but also Christie Horan, who is of FDRA fame, is back in the fold with us and helping us on marketing and communications. So super excited to have you back here, Christie. You were gone, I don't know, you were in exile for a decade or so, but you were with us about 10 years ago. You're back. And so I want to welcome you on the Shoe and Show and just dive right into kind of where you've been over the last 10 years. So Christie, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm so excited to be here with you and Thomas today. Back on Shoe and Show. I'm so excited. So while I was at FDRA about a decade ago, I was dancing for the Washington Wizards NBA team. And I did that for about 6 years. So I continued after I left FDRA, continued to dance for the Wizards, and then also built a choreography business alongside of teaching fitness in Washington, D.C. So I was dancing for the Wizards, teaching fitness, and then also traveling the U.S., teaching choreography to high schools, middle schools, colleges, sometimes semi-pro teams for about 5 years up until 2020. So during that era, just really, working hard, teaching fitness, dancing, more dancing. And then during the pandemic, everything shut down. The NBA was actually one of the first organizations to say, you know what, we're going to protect our people and stop the games. So that was kind of the first part of starting a new business. So I was unable to travel to schools or dance. The boutique fitness studio that I was teaching at shut down. So decided to pivot and kind of like we are on today, start teaching fitness on Zoom to people in their homes. So I sat around for about 48 hours during the first 48 hours of the pandemic shutdown, and decided that I wanted to help people not only with their fitness, but mental health, and help them do something different during COVID. So I had my website from my choreography days and just jumped right in, logged onto Zoom, and started not only teaching dancers dance choreography on Zoom, but also fitness classes on Zoom. So that is pretty much what I did for 5 years up until the pandemic. During the pandemic, the business that I started is called Move, Challenge, Grow. Still doing it today. It's a lot of bar sculpt. So kind of like bar is high repetitions and small weights to the beat of the music, and it's very core focused. The format that I teach is more of like kind of like a dance Pilates kind of thing, which is very interesting. But so started doing that a lot during the pandemic, went virtual for about 3 years. And then right as we were coming out of the pandemic, I was offered a job with the Washington Commanders to be the NFL dance coach. I started out as the choreographer, went in as assistant coach, and then I have been coaching now for 2 years as the head coach.
So, all right, let's get into the Commanders a minute. We're obviously wearing our gear, which is a reminder, too, that we are having videos for Shoe In now. If you're listening to this, keep listening to it on your commute. But you can also check out the videos, too, to see some interesting things. But so one thing that, I find fascinating, obviously I'm biased, I'm a fan, but I'm very interested in the rebuild, like how, the team, it's not, we have, great quarterback, an amazing quarterback, Jaden Daniels, but there's so many other pieces that went into the team, right? So you got they bring in these veteran players who are great leaders, like Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, and then the team does amazing in the draft. Gets Jaden Daniels, but then at every single level they build up players that make immediate impact on the team. they got a great coach who's changing the culture. And I would say even the fan experience, like going to games, going to the stadium, is different. Like it just feels, there's just this excitement, energy. And I felt that at the beginning of the season, even before we knew how good things were going to be. Are you seeing that at with your team as well, like your level of it? Are you seeing changes? Or are you seeing the same energy, excitement? Like what are some takeaways you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you illustrated it perfectly. There's so much energy and new excitement in the stadium, not only during games, but throughout the entire like workday and organization. So with the dancers, I would say the dancers always bring the energy. They always bring the excitement. When I started 3 years ago, it was right at the start of the Commanders organization. So I was excited to bring in something new with our dancers. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but our dancers are actually a little bit different than your traditional cheerleaders. We do the traditional cheerleading where we are on the sidelines with pom-poms cheering on the team, helping create that energy and excitement for the fans throughout the game experience. But also something that we do that is specific to DC is we do hip hop. So we have a lot of hip hop dances. And we also have Beat Your Feet dancers, which Beat Your Feet is a dance style that is originated in DC around go-go music. So not only do we have your traditional cheerleaders, but we also bring it together with trained hip hop dancers and your Beat Your Feet dancers. So I definitely think that the energy from the organization is incredible. And it does start as well in the studio with us too.
That's cool. It's been infectious in the city because, as Thomas said, there was excitement around Jaden, his arrival, but there was no expectation that you'd have a rookie quarterback and we would go all the way to the NFC Championship game. And I can tell you, I've been a fan of this franchise since I was born in 77. The first memory I have, one of the first memories I have was in 82, I think it was, when my father's holding me up. I'm 5 years old, or maybe even 4. And the Commanders had just lost the Super Bowl to the Miami Dolphins, or no, it was the Raiders, I think. And I was just sad, very, very sad. And then fast forward to the Super Bowl in 87 with Doug Williams, who was just iconic, beating the Denver Broncos. And then fast forward to 92 when we had such an amazing season. I was at a playoff game against the Falcons on the field at RFK. It was the seat cushion game where we crushed the Falcons, and someone threw one seat cushion off the upper deck, and then thousands of yellow seat cushions rained down. MC Hammer was on the sideline with the Falcons talking about being too legit to quit. He had to go home in sadness because his team lost, and we went on to win the Super Bowl. And that was like the final moment I remember us being successful. So when we got to the NFC Championship this year, I think it just kind of was this built up, the frustration kind of released, and we were excited again and bullish and optimistic. And so I was very excited about the movement. But I do, Christie, want to talk about footwear, right? I know this is like a kind of a guilty pleasure podcast where Thomas and I get to talk to you who works for our favorite franchise. But at the same time, we should kind of talk about some footwear. So you reached out to us during this whole process to talk about the needs of what shoes you need for the dancers specifically. Walk us through that process, how you ascertain what shoes they should wear, and then which brands you really navigated towards or gravitated towards as it relates to what shoes your dancers would be wearing on the field.
Yes, thank you. I know I was so excited that we got to reunite in that way. And thank you so much for your help with that. So the way that we go through the style and, the uniforms and the shoes for Command Force, it really started, I guess now it's been 4 years since the rebrand. I came in on that 3rd year. But like I said, we're a little bit different than your traditional cheerleaders. So we're allowed to get a little bit more edgy, push the buttons. We have our own designer based out of New York. And then also to complement that hip hop style, we wanted a shoe that you could wear throughout the entire game, but also could support in that style of that hip hop and that traditional like DC flair. So we reached out to Matt to obtain Converse. So we wear Converses. It's the Run Star Hike on the sidelines. Our ladies wear those. It pulls the outfit together so seamlessly. It's like this high top, but also this thick sole that brings your traditional Converse in with something that's more edgy and more urban. And then for our male dancers, we gravitate towards Nike. So one year we actually had a local DC designer paint the shoes in burgundy and gold and add the W. So we did that with Nikes. And then this past season, they really liked the mid-rise Air Force Ones.
So, sticking with footwear for a minute, how have designs changed? I mean, even broader than the Commanders over the years, like since you've been involved with it, how have you seen like, okay, this footwear is very different now than it was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about how it started when I was an NBA dancer on the Wizards. So I came in from college. We wore a traditional tennis shoe or jazz shoe that was very talking about shoes. That was definitely like very traditional cheerleading. When I got to the Wizards, they wore Nikes. They also wore Nike wedges. So it was like a sneaker wedge at that point, and this was around 2014. And we also wore those, if you think about dance teams and seeing them on the sidelines, that was like iconic high white boots with the heels. So we actually wore those. Now, so those were pretty popular. They still are popular for more of like the traditional teams in the NFL. So, but we have gravitated more towards like, we've done heels before, but it's more so like something that's laced up in the front, something that's a little more urban with ankle support. So I think that we can still, and we're looking to evolve every single year with our footwear because it is a part of the uniform, part of the outfit. So we're still evolving with that, but it goes from those white boots to your like new, bright, almost like worn by influencers a lot, that Converse.
So, for me, it's as I think about, what it takes from a physicality perspective. Talk us through that, because Converse is obviously fashionable, iconic, but it's also a casual shoe in the broader culture. So as you think about, particularly for the female dancers, what about the physicality? Kind of talk about the interplay between physicality and the type of shoe that they wear. And are these the same shoes you're going to look for in the season coming up in 25, 26?
Yeah, great question. So we obviously, so our dancers are on their feet from the morning until the night if we have a day game. So, and then games are about 4 hours long. So you do want to be concerned with the support of the shoe. They have their tips and tricks on how to support through that 4 hour. Because regardless of you're wearing, I usually wear Nikes on the sidelines, and the high tops, but regardless if you're wearing like a Nike shoe, a Converse, or a boot, you want to make sure that you're supported through the whole game, like you said. So they'll make sure to tie the laces like nice and tight. They'll wear like supportive socks as well. Some have inserts too. So they definitely add a little bit of their own personality to the shoe that you can't see. You can't see it from the sidelines, but because we are so athletic as well, that is definitely something that we have thought about during the season, also for the future. We want to make sure that we are keeping always changing it up, always pushing that style, making sure that we're staying ahead of the trends. So we'll most likely lean towards the same direction, but if there's another shoe that pops up that aligns with the brand, that like traditional urban athletic look and feel, then we'll definitely lean towards that as well.
Going back to the team aspect of this for a minute, I know we're talking about how great 2024 was in the season and just all the things that happened.
Yes.
But 2023 was tough for me, especially watching, going to games and obviously a losing season. How does that, how do you stay motivated, or how do you keep the the team motivated or the energy up or the excitement up when things are not going well? Right. Are there lessons that you learn from that you can take to other areas too that will translate out?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, the 2023 season looked a lot different than 2024. There was so much excitement in the stands this past season. It made for a very different experience than 2023. I would say part of the, so our team is called the Command Force. Part of the Command Force's job is to invigorate and enlight that spirit with the crowd. So they definitely have to pull it from within. There's so much camaraderie on our team. They stand in 5 different areas around the field, and they are led by a captain. So during the game, especially. So during the game, our team relies on their captain to lead them, to keep the energy up. We also have, every single year, we have new members, we have veterans, and then we have that leadership squad. So the new members and are looking up to the veterans and that leadership to make sure that the energy is right. You can feel the energy, that there's still positivity. Whether we're losing multiple times or we win at home, which is the best feeling. They're always. And then sometimes you see anyone throughout the team like bringing people up. I would say that's the best part about our practices. They're always motivating each other, cheering each other on throughout practice. It's almost like your typical, like you'd think like cheer camp. People are like super excited and happy to be there, and they're always trying to push each other to be better and better.
That's cool. I think it takes a certain type of personality to be on a cheer squad or a command force, to have that kind of positivity that emanates. I think that's part of probably what you look for when you're choosing the team. Now, I do want to correct the record because I did look it up, and it will haunt me if I don't. It was the Super Bowl '84. We lost the Raiders in Tampa Bay. We'd won in '83 against the Dolphins. John Riggins was the MVP. And so I remember as a kid in '84, that would have been January of '84, and I would have been 6, I guess, crying in my dad's arms as we lost the Super Bowl that year. Now, Christie, I want to read a text to you that I got from Thomas, and I want you to tell me if I made a major mistake. But Thomas,
let's see. where this is. Yeah,
you know where it's going. But Thomas is, kudos to him because he goes to training camp. He goes to a handful of games every year. He is all in, and he's not a DC native, so he moved here many, many years ago. So there's so many people move this town because it's a very transient town, and they just hold on to their fandom for some other team, and they've lived here 30 years. And I keep asking myself, what are you doing? Been here for 30 years. Cheer for the local squad, right? Yes. Thomas did it right. He totally converted from, I don't know if you're a Falcons guy growing up in Alabama or whatever. He's shaking his head. But this is the email. This is the text I got from Thomas on October 21st of last year, 10:13 a.m. Do you want to go to the Commanders game this weekend? I have 2 tickets for this one. They are upper deck, section 425, but it should be a good game. I said, thanks for the offer. Let me get back. Let me check my schedule and get back to you. Is the game at 1? He said it was moved to 425. I said, okay, let me get back to you. Can I call you to review a member call speaker? We were talking about business too. And then I said, I'm going to pass. This was the next day, the 22nd. I'm going to pass on the Commanders game since I'm traveling this week and I don't want to be half the day away from the family because it is a commitment to go out to the stadium for a football game. Thanks for the offer, though. Hopefully you can find someone else. No worries. Completely understand. It's a long way out there. That was the text. Now, can you tell our viewers and listeners, Christie, what happened against the Chicago Bears during the 24-25 season?
Oh my gosh. Yes. That was one of the most exciting games of the season.
In the history of the franchise.
Thomas, I'm so glad you were there.
I was there. Yeah, it was awesome. It was incredible.
Oh, the Hail Mary pass. That literally the next day on commanders.com, they had T-shirts made up of the image of the touchdown. You had the Bears taunting the fans, the tip pass. I mean, I think that was like the
turning point, right?
That was the turning point for the season.
Man, that was it was seeing it live, and I mean, I'm not going to make it was amazing. I'll just say that it was awesome.
Tell in all its glory how it went down.
Well, I was going to ask too. I was going to say, like, what's everybody? That was my favorite moment of the season. But
yes.
I'm also there are a lot of them. Like there's so many games that ended that way. I remember being on the road, like on a trip and with my family and watching the end on my phone of the Falcons game. That was or maybe it was even it was the Falcons game. It went down to the wire. There's so many of them, but another great moment. Like I'm wondering too, Christie, what was your favorite moment? What was being on the sidelines? Like, wow, this is a great moment of the season.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Well, definitely the Hail Mary was one of the best parts of the season. I, as a coach, it's a little different too, because the whole time, on the sidelines, you're kind of I'm looking at my team and looking to make sure everything is going right, as well as hearing notes from production in my ear as well. So the moments when I do actually get to watch the game and absorb, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What's going on? Are few and far between. That moment was one of the best moments, I would say, by far, of the season. I was standing on the side of the field where the touchdown happened. I looked down for a second and I looked back up and he caught the touchdown. And the cheerleaders, the crowd went crazy. I was in disbelief, I will say. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that just happened. I was a little in shock. But then the cheers erupted for the next 30 minutes. Like, people stayed in the stadium to celebrate the win. I'm sure, security and CNC was like, okay, you gotta go.
Time to go. It was a late game too.
It was late, yeah.
Right. But that was definitely by far one of my favorite parts of the season. I think the next favorite part was when we clinched the playoffs. That was incredible. That was another incredible part.
Yeah, those were incredible moments. For me, the Hail Mary was like, I was so excited. I was watching at home and texting Thomas and totally regretting my decision not to be there. But and that was an amazing moment. But for me, it was the post-game interview at the first win at Tampa Bay in the playoffs. And you had whoever was CBS or Fox reporter interviewing Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and Bobby Wagner as the leaders of the squad. And they were so mature. Most of those guys are young. Terry's probably the oldest, I would think. But they were so mature in their answers and their faith in each other and God and the plan and the coaches. It was just, I was like, this team is so well led, even if the players are so young, that we are in such good hands. And it just gave me this piece of, again, it's been 92. I mean, we had the RG3 years, which we kind of toyed with doing okay and getting to the playoffs a handful of times, but never did I feel like our ship was captained in a really thoughtful way. And I'm like, you know what? Our future's super bright if these dudes stick around, because they're just top-notch guys or stand-up guys in the locker room. And that was probably my favorite moment of the season. And of course, then going to Detroit and kicking butt, that was just – and I was texting Dwayne Edwards, who's in Detroit. We were going back and forth. And
love it.
Dan Friedman, who's a huge Commanders fan, long-suffering, grew up in Langley, Virginia. So it's been a phenomenal year, and I'm super excited that we were able to kind of experience it all together.
Me too. Super grateful. Best year by far. I said that to the team so much. This has been the best year. It's only going to keep getting better, which I truly feel it is only going to keep getting better.
Yeah, for sure. So any final comments or questions for you, Thomas, on anything Commanders related? Like, get it off your chest, buddy. This is your opportunity.
And so many, we could keep going, right? I know our listeners are like, all right, that's enough. We go back.
I'm a Bears fan. Enough already.
I know Joe, the Eagles fan, is quite tuned out by now, right?
Joe did go to the Super Bowl. He texted me. The guy, the dude in front of him was wearing a Jaden Daniels jersey. He said, I guess Jaden got the Super Bowl after all. I was like, oh, that hurt.
Well, it's the best-selling jersey, I think, of any sport right now. So
yeah, you're here. I'm wearing it right now.
I mean, I guess, yeah, just to close this out, maybe, Christie, just what are your kind of, thoughts on going into the next season? When does that start?
Great question.
You know, what are your what kind of are you looking for heading into that? And then any big takeaways you have, things you've learned this season or last season that you know translate into life, I guess.
Ooh, two amazing
questions.
So deep.
So believe it or not, we're actually working towards next season right now. So what's next up for us is, for our dancers, it's off season, so they get to take a break. We also do have like workshops and to create excitement around auditions. Auditions are next. Those are coming up in the spring, so early May. What we're looking for is a continuation of what we've already built. So not only great dancers, but great humans. And then we're also looking to build wonderful professionals too. So brand ambassadors to the Commanders. We are out in the community a lot here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, talking to fans, making sure that we represent the Commanders to the best of our abilities, and then are also putting on a great show. So that is what we're looking forward to this next season. I would say what I've learned the most is there are so many good things from coaching. I stepped into this coaching role and I was really excited about it. But what I didn't think I've learned so much. It's been challenging. It's been fun. It has been one of the toughest roles that I've stepped into, but the most rewarding. I think empathy is a huge part of being a coach. I'm sure as parents, you all know tenfold. So I think empathy is one of the biggest things. And then also setting the example, remaining accountable, and time management as well.
Yeah, no, that's so well said, Christie. So well said. Well, I'm very excited that you're back in the fold at FDRA, just so our broader viewership understands, like, Christie's managing and really enhancing Shoe and Show, this product right now that you're enjoying and listening to or watching. We're going to be more thoughtful about it. We are entering in almost our 10th year in the program, and we really wanted to enhance it. And so Christie was kind enough to come back and rejoin our command force at FDRA. And it has really just made an impact out of the gate. And so we're excited to have her back. It's funny, Christie, when you go back and look at some of our pictures on shoeandshow.com of our original episodes in 2016, we look like little kids in it. But nevertheless, I think we've fared well. And we're so grateful that you decided to come back and be a part of the FDRA while still managing and maintaining your job with the Commanders. So thank you for stepping back into the FDRA world.
Thank you. I'm so grateful, and I'm fortunate to be here. So thank you so much, you both.
Yeah, no problem. That's another exciting edition of Shoe and Show, folks. Thanks for just humoring us as we kind of got all of our fanboy questions off our chests as Christie helped connect us with the team. We don't know what the season will hold in 25 and 26, but we're very excited about it. We're bullish about it. And we wanted just to give you a peek behind the curtain of some of the really cool people on our staff, Christie and Thomas being two of those. That you all know and love. And so a lot of our folks have side hustles and side gigs, which are probably even cooler than some of the things we do here at Shoe and Show and at FDRA. But nevertheless, we wanted to kind of avail that to you. You can go to shoeandshow.com for all the great episodes that are coming up. And because of Christie's presence and us being more organized and intentional about the program, you're going to be seeing more and more great executives coming out and talking to us on video now and in audio. So you can catch this on any platform where you get your podcasts, or go to kicksovercoffee.com or fdra.org to check out the episodes in video format. Until next time, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.